Should we begin our meeting? Yeah, we got quorum. So we can call our meeting to order at 2:03 on this day, Wednesday, March 12th. And we'll begin with the roll call. I'll begin. Marcus Marzan, representing Bishop Museum.
I'm Holly McEldowney, representing the Department of Land and Natural Resources.
Arthur Buto, representing Office of Planning and Sustainable Development.
Meyer Cummins, DAGS, Land Survey Division.
All right. Thank you. And then we have a couple of guests on the call as well. Bobby Kamara, Leigh DeMello, and Shelly Zanizer from the BGN. Thank you all for attending. The first thing on our agenda is the review and approval of meeting minutes of December 3rd.
I will make a motion to accept the minutes as they are.
All right. Can I get a second to the?
I'll second it.
All right. It was moved by Myers, second by Holly. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Next on the agenda, public comments.
I received an email. I'm sorry, I didn't print it out, but I received an email from Office of Information Practices. I had contacted them to see if the board could review the documents from the last meeting, the background of HBGN and the reason for Island of Hawaiʻi being on the agenda. They said that we cannot review and revise those documents outside of a sunshine meeting. So I didn't put it on, it's not on the agenda today, which means in order for us to actually meet and discuss and make a decision in the summer, as we talked about, as you see in the minutes from the December meeting, in order to do that, we would need to have a meeting between now and our regularly scheduled summer meeting, which would be, I think, the second week of June.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to propose that we meet sometime in the next month, maybe in a couple of weeks or maybe in a month, just to finalize those documents so that we can distribute them through our website and then through our normal networks. Postings.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm a little bit concerned that we set a quarterly meeting for the purpose of having more members to show up, and nobody showed up. So I think we should, and given the urgency of this, I think it's probably wise to, set a meeting in the next month, particularly on this issue. Yeah.
Okay, I will say that Lily emailed me to say that she's not feeling well, and that's why she's not here today.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah, understandable. Yeah, I'm in support of the an additional meeting to get that document approved and edited and ready for discussion at the summer meeting.
May I make a comment?
Yes, Bobby.
As a member of the public, which of course I am. I have to say, well, I wasn't at the last meeting. I don't know what happened. Life got in the way. I'm very disappointed that the board is only meeting quarterly now. I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And if people, my understanding of how people are selected or told that they're going to be on the board is that, whoever's the boss in the agency appoints or tells staff that they're going to be part of this endeavor. And if the staff aren't enthusiastic or knowledgeable or anything about what the board does, the Board of Geographic Names, then they may not be inclined to want to attend meetings. So I'm very, very saddened. I think there's, still a ton of work to do. And I'm especially saddened as, a volunteer. I show up, I'm not getting paid to do any of this stuff. And I'm wondering if there's a way within each agency that engaged individuals might be encouraged to sit on the board. Because I really believe that monthly meetings are very important. They only last 2 hours, It's to me, it's not a big deal. Thank you.
Mahalo, Bobby, for that. And we just have Kapa joining us. Aloha, Kapa.
Aloha.
Let me just say, Bobby, that the reason we decided to move to a quarterly meeting was in the hopes of getting better attendance. As you probably know, we're a board of 7, so 4 is quorum. For several months, more than several months, we were just getting 4 people at this meeting. So it was difficult to make sort of critical decisions or important decisions with just that quorum being present. So the thought was that a quarterly meeting would be easier for members to prioritize in their calendars. A monthly meeting is easier to sort of maybe not ignore, but have other priorities kind of creep in there. It would be easier if we meet less often for the member to make that meeting that much more important in their schedule. So that was the reason for the move to quarterly.
I understand.
So if Lily was not, if Lily was feeling better right now, we would have 6 out of 7. Is that right? 1, 2.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's just circumstance right now, I think, that keeps us from having more today. And I apologize for the documents. I thought that we would be able to. Oh, and look, Hailama's here.
All right.
Would have had full attendance.
Awesome.
But I thought we would be able to review the documents outside of the meeting, by email or by posting on the website or something. But OIP said, no, it has to be at a board meeting. So for those of you who missed it, Kapa and Hailama, as I just said, OIP said that we have to review those documents that we started reviewing in, actually, we got pretty close to finishing in December. The ones about the background of HBGN and the background of why we are looking at the name of the island of Hawaii. They said we have to do that in a sunshine meeting. So because we didn't finalize them yet, that would normally mean, since we're meeting quarterly, we wouldn't be able to look at them again until June. But what I'm proposing is that we we meet again sometime in the next month, either in 2 weeks or a month, just to consider this item. So it would be a shorter meeting, but it would be just to finalize those documents. And as I said, we were pretty close to finalizing them last time. So I don't think it would be a very long meeting, but I think it would be important to finalize them, get them out to our networks, if we want to take this up in June at our next quarterly meeting. So I don't think we need to take a vote, but if you're all agreeable to that, I'll set an agenda for that meeting. I guess I just need to know what would be a good time period for people. Would a month be okay? 2 weeks be okay?
Yeah, maybe the second week on a Wednesday, much like we've got this month.
Second
I don't know how.
week,
Yeah,
April?
I don't know how that conflicts with anybody else's schedule, however.
Second Wednesday would be the 9th. Oh, wait, no, sorry, wrong, but, no.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
it
right.
is the 9th.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is 9th.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm free.
Yeah, I would be free as well on that day and time.
Okay, I think no more than an hour. I mean, I think it's going to be half an hour, but I'll schedule an hour meeting. 2 o'clock, okay? Or 3 o'clock? What's your preference?
I'm available for both those times. No
So am I.
preference.
Is it possible to do 3:30 to 4:30?
Sure,
I'm available. Yep.
Okay,
Works
thank
for
you.
me as well.
good with that, Holly?
Yeah, that's good.
Hi, Lama, that work for you, 3:30? Oh, you're on mute, sorry.
It's great, but I'm checking now for
Okay,
3:30. Usually earlier than that's better, but it's Wednesday, so Wednesday might be good. Yeah, we should be done with our Board of Trustees meeting.
okay. Okay, I'll send out an invitation for that. Otherwise, I didn't get anything. Shelley's still on the call. Any, don't mean to put you on the spot, Shelley, but anything to report from the USBGN or organizationally? You guys are still around?
Yes, we're still very much around. As you know, we've been executing the executive order that came out 14172, honoring American greatness. And so you've seen in the news, we've updated Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America. That is now reflected in GNIS. And Denali has been changed to Mount McKinley, also reflected in GNIS.
Okay,
Other than that,
thanks.
no other reports.
Okay, but you're still there, so that's good. That's it for me for comments.
Okay, anything, any announcements?
Thank you.
Okay. No announcements. Yeah, next on the agenda is discussion for selection of chairperson. Please discuss.
Well, once again, I want to thank you, Marcus, for chairing for, seems like decades, but
When I started
Any-
2016, so it's 9 years now.
9?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, Marcus. I think you've done a good job. Thank you so much.
Oh no, it's been a pleasure. And again, you know, it's not a difficult, meeting to facilitate in this way, because I think all the members that have been a part of the board have been so great and working together in different capacities. So it's just truly has been a great privilege to support in this way.
Thanks.
Are you saying that you don't want to continue?
I'm just giving other people a chance if they wish to serve the board in this in a different capacity. But yeah, I'm fine. We're doing this, for as however long the board chooses me to do this. But again, I know just having an opportunity for other board members to have an experience I think is very beneficial. And so, this is just a way to maybe spread the leadership experience around a little bit. Doesn't mean I don't want to ever take it back again, but it can just giving other people a chance.
this is also an opportunity for us to sort of establish what that period of service should be, what's reasonable.
Yeah, in my experience on boards, it's usually, again, just my experience, usually about a 3-year rotation, I think is probably fair. So there's some consistency for a good amount of time, but it doesn't burden any one individual for too long. So I think 3 years is fair.
I wonder, Meyer, I hear you and I can see the logic of that. I think what makes this different is that we are put into these positions by virtue of an organization. And so what I've seen is that people don't necessarily stay for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was thinking a year or 2 years if we want that continuity, just because, we've had great folks who probably would have continued to serve had they maintained their employment with the organization or their affiliation with the organization that appointed them. So it's beyond us just committing ourselves to 3 years. It's also being affiliated. So I would recommend maybe a year or two and then, but I don't necessarily feel like we need to have a limit on how many terms.
Yeah, I agree with Kapa. You make a good point, Kapa. We don't have the control. We move around and we're sort of appointed to these seats. So I do think some continuity, maybe over a year is maybe best. So a 2-year period is probably a good idea. Unless there's objections. And then we don't put a limit on the number of terms, so that individual, should they stick around, they can continue to run if they're comfortable and everyone's happy with their performance. Arthur, is this something we should make a motion on and have a larger discussion?
I think a motion would be appropriate.
Okay. I'm happy to make a motion. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I just was wondering, yeah, I support the 2-year, term for the chair position. Should we also identify like when the voting or the process will take place? Would it be like the last meeting every 2 years when the board will vote in the next chair or reaffirm the chair? Just so that we have that those timelines also embedded in the motion.
Hmm. Yeah,
Does
since
that
we're
make
going,
sense?
no, that makes good sense. Since we're sort of starting this quarterly meeting, I hate to put it as being a specific month, but maybe the last meeting in the year,
Mhm.
the when the board gets together, then maybe at that point. So every 2 years at the last meeting. I don't know. Does that sound
Yeah.
reasonable to y'all?
Makes sense to me at the December meeting, and then the new chair would start chairing the meetings in March if we stay on this quarterly.
Okay. And then that way, if we switch back to monthly, it still works as being just the last meeting of the year. Okay.
Yep.
Something to consider, and not wanting to muddy the water too much. If people are appointed, and the governor is reelected or whatever, up for election every 4 years, how many appointments are tied to whoever is sitting in the seat of the organization?
They all are. They all are.
So would it make sense to tie it to the electoral calendar?
Sure. I will say too that like Holly, many members continue under their different leadership, but tying it, to that election cycle would kind of put it in sync, as the directors change in that cycle. It's at their discretion, which reminds me, Kapa, a separate issue. We need to ask your new president. It's an opportunity too for you to, step away if you
Okay.
like, but
I didn't even think about. Okay.
yeah.
Wait, we'll take in. Okay. Wait, so is there a term when we come in, or does it so when the president changes, then we have to have the president send the new letter in, the new president, because it's like the elected officials that they can decide. Okay, got it.
Correct.
I'll
Because
see you in
technically,
3 months then. No, okay. She's joking. Yeah, I'll talk to her about it. Thank you.
okay,
I had to do it with the chairperson
Yeah.
too, if the chairperson in the department
because
left, then
technically,
I had to have a
it's,
new letter. Yeah,
it's the president of UH that's supposed to be on this board, or the
chairperson.
chairperson
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the Board of Land Natural Resources, et cetera, et cetera.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. That would mean me too, because I have a new chair.
Correct.
Of the office on the
Correct.
21st. Okay. So I'll invite him to appoint someone else.
If you want out, do it now.
Arthur, since we're talking about these, the reaffirmations of the designees, if for the June meeting, the Bishop Museum will most likely have a new president by that point. So also we'll probably have to get a new letter, reaffirming or designating another member of the museum staff.
Okay.
So just wanted to keep you appraised of that as well.
We're still
Thank
chugging
you.
along over here at Land Survey. Don't you worry about us.
So Meyer, did you want to make a motion?
Yeah, well, let's before I make the motion, going back to what Bobby's comment about the tying it to, I guess, the new governor coming in. Is there a specific date I should look up, or trying to think of the language I want to use?
Well, the election's in November.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it takes office in December, January.
beginning of
December.
Yeah.
So having our, I don't know.
Well, if we make it the last meet, oh, go ahead, Holly.
They don't automatically and quickly appoint the chair for the Department of Land and Natural Resources, though.
But there's an interim.
Yeah, there's an interim.
And in the past, we've asked the interim to designate somebody, and then when
Oh.
somebody,
And we have another letter when somebody comes.
yeah. And then if they're not approved, if they're not, what does the Senate do? Consent?
Okay.
If they're not,
That could be months.
then we need a third letter. But yeah, December could still work, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's run with that. I mean, we can always vote to change it with more information. So I'll make a motion that we vote in the new chair every 2 years, starting from when this motion is approved, in the last meeting of each year. Does that sound complete?
Yeah.
Yeah, we would
So-
select the chair at the last meeting of the year every 2 years.
Right, with no limit on the number of terms that the chair can serve.
Okay. That sounds good. Anyone like to be the second?
Second.
Okay. Moved by Meyer and second by Kapa to select a new chair every 2 years on the last meeting of every year, and most likely in December, to be and would lead the next meeting in January, or the next following meeting, as the new chair. So, any more discussion? Hearing none, any opposed? Motion carried. Okay. So we have the process of electing and selecting a new chair in place.
So you just got to hang on till December, Marcus. I think we've discussed.
That Marcus Marzan serve as chair retroactively from the last meeting in December. I guess in accordance of our previous motion, that it'd be for 2 years.
Marcus, do you want to remain chair?
I'm fine remaining chair, but again, this is just offering to all of you if you feel a desire to wanting to give it a try.
Sure.
I'm happy to pass it on to someone else, but if not, I'm happy to serve again.
Sorry, I guess I shouldn't have made a motion. I should have nominated. So I nominated Marcus.
I was ready to second. I don't even know if I'm gonna be on the board the next meeting, so you know.
So I make your
I
second
can't
count.
commit.
Yeah, I'm Marcus, I'm really pleased with your service, and I'd like to see you stay on as long as it's not a problem for you.
Yeah.
And if no one's
Okay.
leaping, chopping at the bit, you know.
Meyer, you've been a great backup.
Yes, he has been a
Wow, you've
great
been a very
backup,
good
from what I've heard.
I'm happy to fill in, you know, if you're busy with something, Marcus, you're
Yeah.
indisposed. But being the chair is not a goal of my life right now. But thank you.
It wasn't mine. back
Yeah, I
in-
know. Yeah. Greatness is thrust upon us, Marcus. Okay, you just gotta take it.
All right.
Well, since the nomination has been made by Hailama, I second the nomination. I also agree with the nomination.
And if there'd be no further nominations, now I make a motion to close the nominations.
There you go. I second it. Second that motion.
Okay. Nomination is closed. Any opposed to Any opposed to that? Okay. Nomination closed. All right. Any opposed to me serving as your chairperson for the next 2 years?
Heck no.
Motion carried. Mahalo, everyone.
Mahalo to you.
Yeah, mahalo.
Yes. Okay, next on the agenda, discussion and decisions for select land features on Oʻahu.
Okay, let me share my screen. So I am continuing the process we started a few meetings ago where are you seeing my screen, the one with the spreadsheet?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So these are the next bunch of names. It's actually, I think, finishes up the status 3 names for Oʻahu, I think. And then I picked a bunch of names from Kauai. No, I'm sorry, that's wrong. I don't have my map up here, but these are all, I think, from the next Ahupua'a on Oʻahu that we were kind of circling the island. That's right.
They do a cluster in that area.
Yeah. So these are from, I'm not sure which Ahupua'a. Next time for the next meeting, I promise I'll have some maps ready for you. I actually do have a map associated with this. I just don't have it up in front of me right now. Okay.
So just start off at the top.
Sure. Before we do that, Shelley is mentioning in the chat that Kalena is on the BGN docket for tomorrow. I'm sorry, Shelley, my memory is not great. What were we talking about for Kalena?
So this was changing Pu'u Kalena to Kalena.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
It was a while ago.
Thank you. Yeah. Was this something, Shelley, and I'm sorry again to put you on the spot. Was this something we talked about at our December meeting, or was it before?
I can't remember the last time we talked about it.
Okay. It was at least 3 months ago. So, yeah, sorry. I think you just sent out is everybody on our board on your distribution list for the HBGN meetings?
I don't think so. I think it's just
I
you,
haven't seen
Arthur.
Okay.
I haven't seen.
Do you mind if I forward it to the other members?
Not at all. If everyone's just as jazzed as I am to be on the call at 3:30 in the morning.
Okay, I'll do that because you have the agenda on that and the list, I think, of names that you're going to consider, right? So I'll go ahead and send that out to you folks.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm sorry, since it's probably not going to take a lot of time, I'm going to see if I can dig up that map real quick.
Well, I looked them up on Google. And they're all fairly clustered in one area, so Hawaiʻi area.
By the way, we got our Wi-Fi upgraded here, our office network upgraded. So instead of like 2 megabits, we're getting like 200 megabits.
Wow.
So much better. Doesn't mean I'm any faster, but
I wish that's how it worked. I'd get an upgrade myself.
I think I'm the equivalent of a 286. Okay, let's see if this is it. If this is not it, I'm just going to skip the mapping part. But these are all from either the same Ahupua'a or neighboring Oʻahu. And I don't remember who suggested it. It might have been Bobby. I'll be including more than one island for the names considerations.
Okay.
Nope, this is not the one. Sorry. Okay, so we'll just have to look at the spreadsheet for now, and then if you all have your computers or phones handy, I can do some research now, or if you've already done some research, have at it.
Gotcha. I'm looking it up now. Just give me a second here. 25, 2875.
While you're doing that, Meyer, I'll just mention that, so just a reminder, these are all threes, which means that the board has looked at them sometime in the past, and at that time did not find anything. So I think however long ago it was last time, in place names, Hina Gulch or Hina was not listed for Oʻahu, but it was for Molokai. So it's here just as a reference, in case there are Okina or Kahako to consider. But in this case, there's not.
Gotcha. Thanks.
And I think something else that we're considering is dropping the word gulch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in Hawaiian Hina, there's no other way of spelling that. So we can just, I think that we can just have it Hina instead of like as written for the corrected term.
Great.
So do we have anything further for that particular feature, or can we move on?
You know, this is going to take me a little bit of time. So I apologize for not doing research earlier, but I'm happy to go through everything again. Just double check that my office doesn't have any files on these. But instead of everyone just staring at my pretty face, I figure maybe we revisit, unless someone else has additional material.
So this is Bobby again. Is there a protocol or a process in place to advise people who are making maps that words such as gulch and stream and valley, because they're in English, are going to be removed, I guess, from place names, so people don't get confused, and they'll have an alternate way of doing it, or an alternate an alternate list of geographic features in Hawaiian that they could utilize.
I'm not aware of anything in place right now. I feel like we've touched on this a couple of times.
Yeah.
You know, one way would be to leave, for example, Hina Gulch in as a variant name, so that if someone is unclear, they could always look on, you know, the GNIS. Of course, that's a little cumbersome because you'd have to keep looking it up, right? I had discussed in the past, if we're going to remove the feature class, I guess, or the descriptor, as a cartographer, as a surveyor, I'd like to see gulch, for example, or stream, maybe not in the name, but in parentheses after the name, just to make it easier for someone glancing over a map to understand what it is the name is associated with.
All right.
And I think that would not poison the well. I mean, if a feature doesn't have, you know, avava or gulch in its name, I'm not opposed to the name being just Hina, but for those of us who are unfamiliar with the feature itself, I think some kind of descriptor in there that's still there but keeps it separate from the proper name is probably appropriate. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, thanks, Meyer. And that makes a lot of sense, especially when you're just thinking about maps, right? Like if you see a map and you see Hina and you don't know what it's, you know, if you don't see the little stream, you know,
Hina, if you
line
don't
on it,
see
you
the
don't
good.
even know where. You don't know where what that is.
Right.
So
Right, exactly. So just from the
so
ease of use of reading maps, I think it would be reasonable to put in parentheses, which I don't have a problem with, you know, whatever that descriptor is. That way it doesn't suggest that the descriptor is part of the name necessarily, because the name in this case would be, for example, Hina. But what is Hina? Hina's a gulch in this case.
yeah. Arthur, in this instance, you know, we have been removing a lot of the other feature kind of name that descriptors from their proper names. What do you think about Meyer's thought on, you know, this using these like descriptors in parentheses, and how would we do that in this process?
Well, first of all, as a map person, I would rather see that descriptor there to avoid confusion or it being unclear what it's referring to. But one of the things we're considering here on the board is what is sort of the name for that feature? How is that feature known in that community or in that place? I think both historically and now, present day.
Mhm.
Does it include Gulch or not? The other thing is for the GNIS, I don't know that they have anything in parentheses other than historical. Shelley, you might know, but I've only seen in the GNIS, I've only seen historical in a parenthetical thing as part of the name.
Yeah, usually if you have something in parentheses, it's the variant or historical name, yes.
Would BGN or any BGN policy be violated by starting to stick in descriptors like stream or gulch? Shelley?
I'll have to double check on that, if you can give me a minute.
Oh, take your time. Yeah, just trying
Okay.
to thinking out loud. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, looking at this list, they all have that, right? Most of them anyway, gulch or stream or some those terms. So I'm
Mhm.
wondering if that was the reason why these were kind of left in that regard, to discuss that. But if we've been kind of systematically kind of removing kind of these descriptor things from other places,
What we had
what
talked about.
does it affect any of that?
What we had talked about at a meeting, I don't know how long ago, but it was a while ago, was removing that descriptor if there were no other features in that area with that name. So if there's nothing else in that area called Hina, it would be understood that Hina referred to the gulch, the valley.
Mhm.
But if there was a Hina something else, then you might want to keep gulch as the descriptor to differentiate it from the other feature.
Mhm.
Like a couple of names down, there's Kahawai Nui Gulch as well as Kahawai Nui Stream. In that instance, having the distinction between the two.
Yeah, spot on.
Yeah. Okay.
So if I may, in GNIS, Alili Pali Gulch is the name of the feature in GNIS, but the class is a valley.
Right.
Yeah, I think the feature class, while useful, it's so broad. I mean, if you call it Hina Valley, people will probably figure it out if you're just going by the feature class. But there are feature classes that are so broad, you wouldn't be able to connect the name with how people understand that feature to be on the ground or how it's colloquially known as.
Not only that, it depends on who actually gave it its nickname
Name,
or
yeah.
whatever.
True.
So I might not be a person versed in geography, and I saw this and I just called it Hina Gulch, and not realizing there's a technicality making it a valley versus a gulch. I mean, it depends where that came from. And I was just thinking this whole discussion, my great grandfather was born in Maliko Gulch, or as he called it, we called it. And yet, I bet if you looked on an old map in Paia, Maliko is Maliko. But I think I don't know yet. And I haven't been here long enough to know the context that you folks have set up, and the importance of whether or not we should eliminate all of the designations, gulch, valley, bridge, whatever comes with it. It's just that I'm still learning. And yet I wonder if sometimes we add a little bit too much to our, where we're focusing too much on, because I think about, even when I have discussions with Kimo Alama Keaulana about common things, he goes, I don't care if you put an S on, you're talking to me in English, you put an S on a Hawaiian word, you put an S on a Hawaiian word. I'm communicating with you. That's his biggest issue. So I'm thinking about, is it really a sin for us in the context of English language to say Hina Gulch? It might be an important technicality when you're a geography person and it's a valley and not a gulch, but I'm just saying, you know, I don't know. Is this the hill we go on to battle and die on? Is it not? Or is it the gulch in which we go to battle and die on? So I don't know.
No,
Still learning.
you bring up a really good point, Hailama, and I do find that sometimes over the years we see a special situation and we kind of make work for ourselves and say, well, this maybe if we apply it to everything, then we're consistent. And I think consistency is kind of difficult, given how much material we're working with. So if we've got the majority of these features have a name with a descriptor on it, you know, gulch, stream, you know, maybe we leave it for those special situations where, as Arthur said, the only feature here is this pu'u. So we're not going to put pu'u in there or hill or whatever. We're just going to call them hina, you know, for example. Whereas the majority of other features, let's not make extra work for ourselves because we have so much more to do. Maybe we just leave it alone for now.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. I think it's when I think about it in terms of revitalization and moving the needle forward, then I think about how we might. Okay, so I'll step back. One of the books that I used when I was doing my research on place names for my master's degree had to do with quoting the ancestors, and that when you say the place names or you say names, you're quoting our kupuna. And so when I think of it from that perspective, of these names are names that were given by kupuna and we're quoting them, then I would want to quote them as correctly as possible. And the fact that they didn't attach these other names, you know, like gulch and valley to them, makes me want to make those. It's kind of like, I don't want to hit the news, front page news, but island of Hawaii, right? Like that's kind of similar to the same argument. And so like to me, Hawaii is enough and it can stand alone. And so I wonder, I mean, while I understand that it's helpful for folks today, I also think in terms of the movement and in terms of quoting kupuna, maybe having it as an alternative name with citing that as an alternative name would be the way I'd like to go.
Yeah. Mahalo kapa. Yeah, I understand. And I think just historically, you know, since I've started, the board has always tried to give preference to the Inoa Hawaii and push that forward as the direction on how the board addressed these different situations. So yeah, I think that's definitely since my time and from what I've heard from previous board members that served before, that yeah, they really wanted to make sure that the Ike Hawaii was represented properly within the decisions. So yeah, I would be in support of the removal of, in this case, like gulch. But in the instance when there are multiple features that have the same name, maybe that's the one instance where we can still retain those terms just so that we can actually see the differences between all of those different features. Especially when they all carry the same name.
It's Bobby again.
Yes, Bobby.
I think what's happening is, for a very long time, I think Meyer mentioned, you folks are focused on pu'u and kipuka. And it's silly to say, you know, pu'u Bobby Hill, right? We don't say that. And now we're kind of branching out into gulches and ridges and valleys and all of these things that have feature class names or whatever they are. But, you know, there's that tension between trying to do right by Olelo Hawaiʻi, but trying to fit that into Olelo Haole box. You know, it's like, how do we accommodate Hawaiian in English? And that's not always a successful and easy thing to do. Maybe it's good to pause just a little bit, and you know, if the board can come up with a protocol or, you know, naming conventions for at least this period of time, and then focus on the name, you know, Kahuai Nui, you know, does it get any, you know, diacritical marks? Ka'aʻao, you know, what's up with that? And leave the class alone for the time being, I think. You know, when we talked about craters up at the park, it was, I think, a little bit different because we're actively working on a signage program and maps, and you know, it's we've got a limited list, and Hawaii Volcanoes has, you know, pretty tight control over what appears on maps or what doesn't appear on maps, as long as they're approved names. And so for us, it's easy to put crater in parentheses after the name. But then it gets to be a little bit unwieldy when you have a lot of people making maps who may not understand, you know, what the protocol, if you want to call it that, is. So yeah, it's, you know, I tend to be, let's charge ahead and, you know, fix everything, but sometimes maybe it's good to step on the brake a little bit and think about what the point is. You know, we know what a gulch is, we know what a valley is, but is it spelled Hina, or is it Hina, or Hina, or Hina? You know, that to me is the crux of the problem, I guess. Thank you.
No, thank you, Bobby.
Bobby, I agree with you 100%. That my perception of the purpose of this board is to look at these names and say, is this name correct? Is this the correct name being applied to this place? And then we look at the spelling, you know, are there diacriticals that need to be there to help explain what that name means? Do we know what that name means? You know, what can we find out through our research? Is it spelled correctly? And then look at things like gulch or stream or valley and decide whether or not it's appropriate to put it in there or not. But I think sort of in that order, you know, we want to, number one, our job is to make sure that the names that we're looking at the location that they're identified as being is correct, is the correct name for that place or not. And then, is it spelled correctly? You know, what does it mean? Is it spelled correctly according to that meaning? And then consider these other factors to kind of tweak it, make it perfect. But I agree with you.
Well, should we, in this instance, should we just go down the Hawaiian names and identify that and, you know, make those suggestions if there are any, and then leave the the descriptors on at this point anyway?
Yeah, I think that's probably the most expeditious thing. We can always come around to a policy dealing with the descriptor afterwards once we're able to focus on it. But if we spend a lot of time talking about do we put gulch or not gulch, and we don't actually approach how are we spelling this
Yeah.
Hawaiian name, maybe we're putting the cart before the horse or something like that. Yeah. Okay.
Well, after I said all that, Meyer, one of the reasons that I was interested in, or I'm interested if you can find these places on old survey maps or old maps is, do they show gulch? Do they show the word gulch? Do they just,
Yeah, they generally do, keeping in mind that, a lot of these surveyors are haole, so they may have been given the Hawaiian name by a kama'aina that were telling them what the names were, but for a lot of these surveyors, they added these features in for, and then a lot of the practice of surveying and the cartography involves as a policy to add in these descriptors. I'm not going to say that it was 100% of the time like that, as we know there are Native Hawaiian surveyors, but largely they do add the descriptors in.
Yeah, but I think if it was absent, that would be telling.
That's true. Then you make a
If
very
it's
good
there, there might be many reasons why it's there, but if it's absent, I think that may tell a whole different story.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed. Okay. Well, I'm still looking at maps, and I'll probably check out what notes I have. But if you guys want to start getting at the names, most of my information doesn't even cover the diacritics. So yeah.
So Kapa and Hailama, what are your thoughts on Hina?
I heard you say
Language
earlier
wise.
there's most likely not going to be another spelling of it.
Yeah, most likely.
One of the things we're doing with these status 3 names is, again, these are names that have already been looked at by other boards before. They couldn't find anything definitive. Is if we're also at that point that we have, in this case, maybe put Hina Gulch and just said it's a 7, that we've exhausted all our resources at this time, and we're just going to call it Hina Gulch. No diacriticals, leave the word gulch or not, but we're not going to do any more research on this unless something comes up, unless there's some evidence that surfaces that says something else. So that's an option here, is we could say, and I would still be interested to know if Meyer could find a map just to kind of confirm that it says Hina Gulch here or not. But that would be an option for all these 3s, is that we do as much research as we can and we're not getting anywhere on it. And we're just going to leave it for now. We're not going to come back to it in 2 years or 10 years.
So you're going to make it a 7, is that it?
I mean, that's a possibility. I'm not saying we do that here, but I'm just saying that's an option for all these names we're looking at now that are status 3. Is that one thing we could do is if we're kind of, again, we're satisfied that we've done as much as we can do, that we call it a 7 and leave it for posterity, some future board.
Yeah, I like that approach. We got a lot of names to get through, and if we're running into a wall, let's just accept that we've done as much as we can, and leave the possibility of the name change for future board or ourselves if we happen to come across additional evidence.
I do have a question in the column G. So for Kahawai Nui, in G, it's Kahawai Nu. Was that intentional?
I don't know. That was a previous board.
Probably typos.
Could be.
I mean, I guess that's my question, right? Like, is it a typo now, or is it like, was that meant to be? Because they specifically wrote it in.
Yeah.
Kapa, may I ask a question?
Sure.
In your studies or people that you know, when people are talking in newspapers about these features, they're, I presume, attaching descriptors to them, like avava or
Mhm.
mavai or whatever. Is that true?
Depends. I think it depends if it's understood or not, right? So like Kakula is a valley my family comes from. We don't always refer to it as an avava because we just know Kakula
Right.
is a valley. Unless we want to talk about the stream, then we, but if not, then it's a place and it's a valley. But I haven't heard, like, it's not common to say Keavava or Kakula. Like, it's usually not needed.
What about it in writing? When you're writing stuff?
Same thing. But then, so I guess I'm gonna disagree with myself. But in Kapulua, there's Pu'ukoa'e, and people don't just say Koa'e, right? It's always Pu'ukoa'e.
Oh, pu'ukoai, right.
Even though everybody knows it's a pu'u, but nobody
Yeah.
just says Koa'e.
Yeah. So that's kind of what
There's
we're
numerous examples of that with pu'u, the use of
Right.
pu'u or mauna. I mean, how do I know way back when they named Mauna Loa, Mauna Kea, that they were literally trying to just say mountain, and it should be Mount Kea and Mount Loa. I'm being a little bit off the record. I mean, off the path, but you know what I'm trying to say. I mean, it becomes the name after a while. I mean, that's well, yeah. Even Lahaina, we get Mauna Pa'u Pa'u. But yet I've heard people talk about it as Pa'u Pa'u. But I've heard people say Mauna Pa'u Pa'u in their language context.
something to think about.
And it's kind of a pu'u.
Okay, so for Hina Gulch, should we just leave it as is, Hina Gulch, and like Arthur mentioned, have it changed to status 7 at this point?
I'm not opposed to that. Arthur, you said we or previous boards have looked these over once before, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, at least on the names where it doesn't appear that, like Hino, where there's not going to be any diacriticals, maybe we move ahead with a 7 on that. And then we can have more discussions about some of these that appear like they should have, Okina, Okako.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Just real quick, does somebody have place names? What is Hina on Molokai? Is that a gulch also? Just curious.
We'll have my place names near me.
Hina, it's open on my desktop. Place names of Hawaii: Hina Falls, Kamaloa Quad, Molokai, named for the goddess Hina, the mother of Molokai. So that's Hina Falls. Yeah, that's the only one. Then maybe Hina Falls is in Hina Gulch.
So please remind me, 7 is we've exhausted everything. Like, what is the best number? Like, what is the one where you feel The most certain.
When everything is POW,
No, I mean, like, which one is the one that has the most certainty? What number?
I think 4 HBGN is, and I don't have the codes up here. I think is 4 HBGN corrected or something?
I
5
think
is GNIS
Oh, yeah,
correct?
5 each.
I mean, if I would say that this is the closest I'm gonna get to saying I feel pretty confident about this one, right? Just by the
So this would be
modelo
like-
about Hina related to Molokaʻi, I can't think of another example where I would feel more confident than this.
Okay, so this would be like a 5
5, yeah.
GNIS correct.
Mhm.
You can change it later.
Well,
Well,
I'm gonna make a
it
motion.
hasn't, yeah,
Can I make a motion to change this to status 5 for Hina?
I'll second that.
it's moved and seconded. Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next feature. Any thoughts on that one? To me, it feels like it should be ihi ihi. I don't know of an ihihi as a term ever used.
he. There's a he. I'm just looking in the dictionary. He.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he came up is a relatively new term because it's connected to horses.
He.
And
Yeah,
I wonder if it's like mimicking the whole,
horses.
yeah,
You have to
the
look at
slow-
the practicality of a name, and in many cases, not all. This could be that exception, but sacredness. If there was a place that was sacred, thus it would carry that same name. But it's gonna be one that I guess we're gonna get stuck on and say, to the best of our educational summation, it is ihi meaning ihi meaning sacred. I'm gonna guess that, but again,
Meyer, could you pull up the image of the quad that you had all of the different last time, the last images you had of Hina Gulch? I think I saw some of the all the other features that we were probably discussing on that same image.
Sure. Shoot, I gotta think of I gotta think of the map number now. Give me a couple minutes.
Because they're all in the same quad, so
I think we mentioned in the last meeting. So let me see what the meeting the numbers in the meeting notes. Stand by.
or again, even pulling up the feature ID,
Topo.
This is from GNIS.
Oh, there it is.
very sacred to me. I'm kidding. Smile.
What GNIS is?
so
Oh, I remember this quad. I just pulled it up in Topo Quest. Ihihi. Okay. Ihihi gulch. Ihihi.
Meyer, did you find anything?
No, I haven't yet. I'm still looking. I can pull up the tax office map, the tax map, but I mean, we've got topo.
What are we looking for?
The map
Where?
of Kahuku on Oʻahu, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's online, and all of these, the Ihihi and Kauai Nui both empty into the ocean at Laie.
We can also go to Kipuka, and that's you can just kind of jump from name to name. But Bobby got the topo up. Whoever Arthur got the topo up.
Yeah. So that's Arthur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Hauula 2952. 52. Try that. Oh. What is this? No, that's subdivision. Kuku. Try 2736. 2736. 36. Here. Looks like mostly trig stations on a lot of these maps.
Oh, for names.
Yeah, it's tricky because it depends on what the map was for. You could
Yeah.
cover the same area and not look at anything useful for what we need them for.
And then it gets to be confusing, like we did in Volcano. It's like, is this a place name or is this the name for
Yeah.
the station?
Yeah, exactly right. That's not helpful. Okay. 32. Plantation Ranch? No. Koku. 127. 127. No, that's not useful. 1560, maybe.
Kapa, from a linguistic point of view, what would be your inclination for this one?
Yeah, I would agree with Hailama if I were to take a guess. Because it could be a plant or it could be sacred, yeah.
Yeah.
I know my mentor wrote a book about like animal sounds, and so a lot of the animal sounds are like Hawaiian versions of what the animal sounds like. And so that's what I'm thinking. These words that appear in the dictionary that are variants of the spelling refer to that, like, putting into Hawaiian letters.
Yeah.
What that sounds like, the neigh of a horse sounds like.
Yeah. Because in that instance, it's the ihihi, yeah, the stress on the second he, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, um,
While Meyer is looking, do all of you folks have access to topoquest.com? Or is that not of interest?
What's on TopoQuest?
Topo maps.
Hmm.
Lots, all of them, all topo maps.
Is that all USGS or where
Yeah.
would they come? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
All the USGS maps.
Going back in time.
Yeah, well, most of these are 80s, I guess. No, the old ones, you got to go to the UH website.
Yeah.
The 1912s and 13s, all the old brown line maps.
Fun ones.
Yeah. Oh, and I don't know if you folks heard, Melia finally retired.
Oh.
Saw that.
Yeah.
Very sad. Circumstances are very sad.
I think she's overjoyed. Talk about perfect timing.
I hope she took her paperwork with her,
I didn't ask her that yet.
because I can see value being lost if somebody leaves and
Oh, I know.
if there's ever a following person, probably not, but the papers will disappear.
Yep.
Okay. It looks like we don't have much in the way of government maps in this area. A lot of this is all private title. I will start looking through our miscellaneous maps, which covers a lot of private title, but there's no guarantee, and it's a little harder to look through. So I'll be quiet for a while. Sorry, guys.
Okay, so at this point, how do we want to proceed? Should we do anything to this? Kind of one, I'm not sure what people want to do.
Well, looking at the names, I know I said I was just gonna be quiet. I'm sorry, I can't help myself.
No.
When you look at these names, you as experts in Olelo Hawaiʻi, like Hina, are there names where there's very little probability that they'd be spelled any differently? I'm not coming from this from a place of ignorance, so I'm just flat out asking if you guys, if anything stands out and says, no, that's correct, or that could have so many meanings. We're going to have to find more information.
Are you talking about all of the names here?
Yeah, the
Or-
current list.
Well, I mean, I could make an educated guess on a few of them. Like, I'm pretty, I would guess it's Ka'au because there's the linguistic quote unquote rule that if there is no kina in front of the A, then the ka'i or the article in front would be ke. Kiao.
Mhm.
I mean, is there a possibility that it's ka'a'o? It's a possibility. It's cumbersome, but then some names could be cumbersome too. And then again, geographical features. This on the side. Is there a term that would reflect on that? Koloa, because of the use, certain names like Kailua that are repeated throughout seem to be the same throughout. Waimea, Kailua, but those are quite simple. But Koloa seems to make sense there also. The one that interests me a lot that I feel we could spend 2.5 hours on just looking at it is the Pu'u Kawewe Ole, whether that is a W glide, whether it's more than that, I don't know. So I'm just offering more to the confusion here.
I mean, I think the previous boards have taken a pretty conservative stance on it. And so, I mean, I'm fine leaving them out as threes, except I do have concerns about column G for Kawai Nui.
I was just looking at this. This looks like it was actually truncated. So I'll have to look at the original spreadsheet because, I mean, this looks kind of odd here.
They just
Yeah.
left the I off.
Yeah, it looks like maybe it was just truncated.
Yeah.
So what we can do then, maybe in this instance, like Kahawai Nui Gulch, Kahawai Nui Stream, do you feel like there would be any diacritics in that? I'm just thinking like ones that we can think of that, like Hina, that we don't have to do real much to anything of the existing, and we can just kind of address some of those. Like,
I mean, I think it's
But
hard.
anyway, I mean, looks like it. I would guess, again, just taking what I think is an educated guess, is Kahawai Nui. And I'm thinking that the person who named it Kahawai Nui back in 400 AD or whatever is laughing at us now as we're debating whether and he said, no, it's just a river. So I called it Kahawai Nui.
A big cowboy.
I mean, I think Kane Ohe, yes. So I think you're right, Hailama, some of them. But then also, so when I think about Mele, sometimes there are intended kauna, right? Like it could be more than one thing. And so for us to just come in and say, oh no, it is this or this because I saw the word and I decided that it is. I mean, like I don't know if that's mahaoi to not know and to say my guess is it's this. And so 90, I mean, because some of them I feel like 90% confident about making a guess, but it would be an educated guess. And there's no guaranteed. I often think about Kane Ohe. If I didn't know the mo'olelo, would I feel confident about Kane Ohe being the place name? Probably not. But with the mo'olelo, then it makes sense. But otherwise, why would a Kane with Ohe make sense as a place name? So, I mean, and that's one that we commonly use and we've accepted because it has a mo'olelo to it. So if I'd be very conservative, I'd stay with threes.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
It's
And considering the board, either this or a previous board have looked at this, it's not like it's all brand new. And if they, in their wisdom, decided there wasn't enough information, they left it as a 3. If nothing's jumping out at us, we don't have specific information. Yeah, maybe we just leave it as a 3.
Yeah. And just from, you know, just to share a little bit of my experience, when I first began, we had board members, when we were going through the list of names, board members were more willing to go with some of those more educated guesses and not be super conservative in their approaches. To me, like in this instance, the listing of the names that are here, I think generally include English terms, and I think that was a huge thing that board I know conversations about in previous iterations of the board. They didn't want to address those until later. So I think, you know, I think that's why we see so many of them in this grouping here, because that was probably the reason why they left them for more research, because of the English term versus the Hawaiian term. Whereas, and again, in previous, when I first started, that educated guess sometimes was, especially for things that seem to be the most likely, they were okay with using that, especially knowing that, you know, if there was an issue, then the name could be changed again, you know, and or updated in that context.
I
So
guess
just wanted to share that.
I mahalo you for that. And I guess what I'm concerned about is like when it doesn't have kahakua and okina, I feel like people are more inclined to see its possibilities.
Yeah.
Once you start adding kahakua and okina, then people attach meaning, like, oh, it's there because it must mean that, versus it just being a blank slate. With Hina, I feel more comfortable because of the mo'olelo about Hina attached to Molokaʻi, and because of the research we've done to, you know, about, including today, about this particular name. So, I mean, I guess I would
The
be
sad thing is, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, is that many of these names they're not being used. This is the most attention they get now
Yeah.
that we sit here as, you know, as a group of folks caring about the names and discussing them. And the only possibility I'm going to guess is if some of these areas are sold, and then it's somehow locked into the deed, or if somebody somehow is going to be able to develop this area one day, and then they find in research, and then it comes to life. But the sad reality is many of these names are not being used and are being lost. So in some way, we should feel good that we're honoring the names by just spending time with them right now and discussing them.
Yeah, that's Meikai. I also
Yeah.
think about like my name, right? Like if you didn't know me, most people would say, oh, better chance of it being kapa than ka, or maybe it's kapa'a. And then people attach, you know, what they think it should be, and it's like, well, actually, no, that's not what it was intended to be. So that's my caution.
Okay. Sounds like we're going to be a little conservative here. I'm fine with leaving them as 3s until we know more. I actually respect your opinion, Kapa, about the blank slate. It makes more sense to let other people sort of see it and see what it could mean, versus if you start sticking stuff in there, then they just accept it as for what it is. And since we don't know, maybe it's just better to leave it.
Yeah, I wonder, I mean, maybe even our approach, I wonder if there's so many things that we could focus on. I wonder if, I mean, I don't know how we come up with the lists. I know Arthur does a wonderful job of saying, okay, these are the words we're going to look at. These are the names we're going to look at. I wonder if maybe we start with some of the places that we are more familiar with. Because one good example is Horomanu on Maui. And on Oʻahu, there are 2 streets. One is Ke'anai and one is Horomanu in Aiea. And most people would probably think it's Honolulu, right? Because that just kind of makes more sense. Except that if you listen to all the kupuna from that place, they always say Manu, Honolulu. It's always Honolulu. even till today. And so, I don't know, that could be another approach.
I think it's a good idea.
Mhm.
Are we missing out on a resource? I mean, is there a way? I know these names are up in
Small
GNIS.
chance it's in Kanahele's interviews that somehow one of those place names are going to be mentioned in one of the Kanahele interviews that he did. But it's a small chance. But if let's say there were cowboys, they were riders of horse, and they were riding up, and they start to helu some of the names. I mean, that would be like, I hope they are there. Then you'll hear it. Other than that, but Mr. Kanahele is a godsend that he recorded whatever monoleo he could grab in Laie at that time, or as they say, Laie.
Yes.
What do they call it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and now you're saying cowboys, right? I mean, and it could be.
It could be weenie,
Weenie.
as in the horse's weenie.
Yes.
Yeah, we're getting bad. But I was just suggesting that, thanks to Mr. Kanahele, he did interview Mauna Leo from the area, and maybe one of those place names are there. And even if we're not able to go and listen to them now, is there somewhere we can capture that? Here's a potential place to look or listen. Where are they stored? Are they in Kaniʻaina now? Where's Kanahele's? They are in Kaniʻaina.
I don't know for sure
Oh,
about
okay.
this, but I know there's a lot there. So I will make a motion for us. We've already made a motion for Hina. I will make a motion for the other place names on this list for us to leave them as threes.
I second the motion.
Okay, it was moved by Kapa and seconded by Hailama to leave the remaining list, feature names on this list as status 3. Any further discussion? Hearing none, any opposed? Motion carried. Okay,
I just post the link if you're interested to the Kanahele interviews. On the
Mahalo.
chat.
Mahalo, Hailama.
mahalo. Okay, should we move on to the next list of names, Arthur, or?
Sure.
So these 5 are on Kauai.
Yes.
Alright. Jump over.
Any thoughts?
Looking up maps right now.
I mean, they skipped to Maui, but to me, Waiʻohonu checks out. It's in place names. It makes a lot of sense linguistically.
Mhm.
So I'd be inclined to change it to a 5.
Do you want to make a motion for that?
Sure, I motion to change Waiʻohonu to a 5, status 5.
Anyone want a second?
I'll second.
Was-
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, okay.
But,
I saw Hailama say aye. Yeah, so Hailama a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Any opposed? All right, she carried. Waiʻohonu to 5.
The first one, is there a possibility of something other than kaho'ano?
Can't think of any other possible thing it could be.
Sorry. I know I just made the motion, but now I'm recalling that we're talking about Kauai. So I feel less confident about my 5. So I would like to retract that because it makes sense for Maui and I can show the rationale for it to be on Maui, but to then just take a blanket statement and apply it to another island, I don't feel as confident with that.
I'm happy you caught that because I was wondering, especially
Well, I
since
was like, oh, well, you feel confident about it, but the last comment you made for the other one went, okay, well, I'll go with it.
Kalamai, so I would like to retract that. Scratch that from the record.
Well, and then it made me
Yeah.
wonder, is there a koloa on Maui? Are we talking koloa on Maui here?
Sorry, no,
So,
because in that other column it had Maui. So
yeah.
I got
I'm
anyways.
sure those are
I
the
need-
comparables or what they
Yeah,
consider to be
probably.
comparable.
Probably. So Kalamai. It threw me off
So-
when it said Maui. I was like, yeah, if we're talking about Maui, it makes sense. But we're not.
But you know, Kapal, we already passed the discussion and the motion was passed and
Okay.
carried. So, you know,
So I would like to make
it's
a new motion.
forever.
I make a new motion to strike my original motion.
Oh my goodness.
that
But
sounded
I
like a
do-
motion to me.
No, I think it's okay. We can accept that. And I'm okay with withdrawing the second. I
Okay.
do want to be safe. But again, I will bring up that I cannot consider any other way for the word kaho'ano to be pronounced. The exception would be if it is a shortened version of something, you know, that might be, but then that could go for every other name we have. And it is a summit. And Ho'ano has that idea of being revered also.
Mhm.
So me matching that idea, I cannot see it other than Kaho'ano, which many of the kupuna pronounce Kaho'ano, interestingly, or Ho'ano, except for Kimo. His name is Kimo Kaho'ano.
I mean, I think my stance is gonna be the same as the others that I think we leave it as a 3, but I'm open to hearing from others.
Oh, so they're neighbors.
Yeah,
Yeah,
interesting.
right
Yeah,
next to each other.
and they would almost look at each other, and they probably sing that song that we hear, that little Disney song on the volcanoes. You folks know that one, right? The cartoon.
Yes.
Napua.
I love you.
Yeah, I love what you.
Yeah,
That song.
yeah, yeah. Oh, makes my daughter cry every time. I love it.
It's sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm the only one who doesn't know this. So can somebody explain the reservoir's name?
Waita.
Yeah, why? Why? I mean, why? Why? Why is it there a T? I'm curious. Wait. Or is it wait reservoir? Reservoir? I don't know. I'm curious. I just thought, oh, we're in Aotearoa now. Or something.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Because Ni'ihau and Kauai dialect.
Could be, yeah. That's why I was asking, is that a Hawaiian name or is that not?
Yeah. Well, it's not on our list, so we
Yeah,
don't
I
have to
know.
worry about it. But yeah, it's very interesting to see. Like,
Perhaps wai and ta, rice paddy in Japanese. This is according to place names. Waita.
And they have a kahako on it too in place names.
Yeah, yeah.
That is interesting. I never knew that there was there's what, Beretania as a T, but other than that, there's an official place name, Vaita. But it says formerly called Koloa, meaning the reservoir was probably Koloa Reservoir or whatever little pond it was before it became. Okay, sorry, I know we're not on this, but it is a place name and it is spelled there, so that's what distracted.
So I'm looking on Ulukau. It's interesting. It's not Koloa with a kahako over the O for Koloa. It's the ahupua'a is Koloa without. And it just says a small hill. But it doesn't have any kahako and okina, I think, in this one. And so it says one place it's misspelled as Kahoano, but then it should be Kahoanui.
Mm-hmm.
Kahoanui.
Okay, and so I'm gonna put this.
There we go.
On this map, does it have that other reference point? It says Ku Manu Manu is between Kiaba Kahaya and Kahuanui. Is there another point that can place it in between those two? Kiaba Hanui, Kiaba Kahaya. No.
Let me search.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know.
But here they have the, all the places in between, right?
Yeah.
Kahua, it's between those. Hmm. Okay. One we are Conoco Hill called.
Still column. Is that what you were looking at? Papa?
Ahuana on, is that registered map 1395? Is that what it?
Meyer, do you have this one?
Okay, I have 1395. I had it up. I didn't see it, but my eyes are getting worse and worse as I get older. Let me you want me to share?
Yeah, go ahead.
I gotcha.
You know, if you need me to stop sharing.
Okay. You guys see my screen?
No, let me stop sharing.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And where am I looking? Sorry, what am I looking for?
It says Kahuana instead of Kahuano. It's the mountain summit.
It's very, very
Right
down
there,
here.
right there, right there,
Right here.
right
Hey.
by Helena.
Oh, you got good eyes, huh?
It's because I was just
Hey,
looking
Holly,
at
I can't drag this up there.
That's
There we
right.
go. Pu'ukahoana. There you go.
Okay.
So 1395
Over here. Yeah.
right there. Can probably draw on it.
Swamp next to it.
Yeah.
Oh, Palena Swamp. That's what turned into White Reservoir.
Things that name.
I wonder if that's a variant name.
Huh?
Oh, but
Good
it wasn't
question.
even, I didn't find it in GNIS, but I did look for Polena Swamp.
There you go.
And when was this map created?
1395 was 1878.
1878.
Kit Ridge. Yeah. There's an updated version. This is 2375. Ooh, let me scroll down. Don't let me get you guys motion sick. But they don't look like they have it.
Oh, no, it is.
Yeah. Valley. La'aukahi. No.
No, okay, that should be down.
Yeah. So it would
It
be
should
in
be,
this.
oh, it's that little
These here.
one, one of those.
Oh, yeah. And here's, looks like the reservoir. I don't know. Waihohonu? Don't we have one of those?
The other one was
Oh, Waiohonu.
white.
Hondu.
And then the other older map, the other map that you had was it?
Let's flip back.
Um,
Let's see.
Oh no, they didn't have that.
It doesn't even, oh, let me scroll down a little bit. Yeah, they don't even show it in this area here. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll keep working on this list. I'm gonna need to. It's gonna take me a little more time to get through the list and make sure I'm looking at all the different maps.
But yeah, this being an early map, and having it called
Mhm.
Kahuana,
I suggest the name.
versus Kahuanui, which was on the Ulukau, is
Mhm.
how it's currently, or well, identified on there.
I'm going to scroll over to the title to see if it's associated with a field book. If it is, I may be able to pull the field book number and make sure that the surveyor spelled it correctly. Here. I don't see a reference, but I do have the surveyor. So I'll pull Harvey's field book and see if he also has a spelling in the book itself, and then we can compare them to each other. So
It's 70.
78.
Yeah, so on the bottom of this in the key, it says 1900.
Well, this is a tracing. So
Ah,
the original 1395 was going to be the 1878. But you bring up a good point, Hailama. I'm going to see if we have a good, clean original that isn't too fragile. I'll compare them. Because as Bobby knows, and I'm sure all of you know, there's often typographical errors between new
somebody is spelling
tracings.
it differently.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I'll check those. I'll have that ready for you at the next meeting. 1395. 1395.
Well,
Okay.
now that we are a little over time, should we end our meeting now?
Sure.
Yeah, before we end though, Kapa, did you want us to look at those specific names?
Oh, no. Wait, which one, which specific?
Hanumanu?
Oh. I mean, if that's easy to find, I don't need to, but we could save it for another time.
Well, our next time is June to
Well,
go over names.
Oh yeah,
But
two
in a month, we're just gonna go over the document. But
Yeah.
our next meeting to look over names would be in June. So I can add it to the list for June.
Oh, I see, I see. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Arthur, given the fact that it's going to be a while before the next meeting, is there any way I can get a longer list of names to be looking for? Often if I get 8 names, I can look at, it'll take me a day, if not less, but since we've got 3 months, maybe I'll take 24 names. I don't know if that is something you can forward to the board and I can start looking.
Yeah. So I can start pre-populating the June meeting on the website with maybe fuller spreadsheets.
Yeah, if you don't mind. That way I have more to work with and I can
Yeah.
bring more to the meeting.
Okay,
Thanks, Arthur.
I need to write that down, so I do it.
I'll follow up too if nothing. I know you get busy and we all get busy, but I'll try to follow up in a week or so just in case. I'll make a note.
So Arthur, will all the subsequent names that we'll be addressing be from Kauai from this point,
No.
or is it kind of jumping around?
Yeah, I was just gonna jump around. I think Bobby suggested that we, not just kind of stay on one island forever.
Yeah.
So maybe a couple different ahupua'a each time.
Sounds good.
That sounds great. That actually works really well because there are some areas where I have no information. It's just private title. So if we get 20 names from the same ahupua'a and I got nothing. So if we
Yeah.
jump around, I have more options.
Okay. Arthur, are we ready to adjourn?
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I will
I
second.
We all do.
All right.
Everybody
Everybody
second.
wants.
All right, everybody second. Okay. Meeting adjourned. Thank you
All right.
all for.
Mahalo,
for
everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was a great
Thank you.
meeting. Appreciate it, guys. Aloha.
Okay, aloha.